Well, joining me now is a lawyer and a rise analyst, Frank Tietie. Good to see you on Newsnight tonight. What do you make of Olayinka Oni's submission that there's a number of people, connected to EndSars who are still very much in detention? Maybe I should add to that a point that's been made over and over again over the years, that over 80% of inmates, prison inmates in Nigeria, are awaiting trial. It does speak a lot about administration of criminal justice system, doesn't it?
Yes, it tells about the woeful situation. And it has been like this for so long. And if you hear the narrative, it looks as if we are in a war situation and that there is an enemy that is constituted as government with forces, either the army or the police, that are working for it against its enemies. So they've captured their enemies in a war situation. They are prisoners of war. They're dealing with them as if they don't have rights. Now that's a very terrible situation about our country, where it seems as if that we relegate the most important thing, which is the dignity of the human person, the sanctity of the human life, and the basic human rights, which are referred to as fundamental human rights in our constitution. We operate this country as if it's a joke. If you don't know the reason why people go struggle to cross the shores of the Mediterranean, to leave Africa and go somewhere else it's not necessarily because of material or a better life, but it's because of an oppressive. They are running away from an oppressive system. Now, but again, it's easy to have the euphemism of saying they are EndSars detainees. The truth about it is that, and I like the fact that you referred to the statistic of over 80% of people in Nigerian detention centers are persons who are just put them on trump-up charges. So thanks wholesomely to Sheikh Usani for using that auspicious occasion to bring this to fore. So beyond EndSars, the protesters who are said to be detained, we just have a situation where law enforcement in our country takes delight in breaking the law, in suppressing the law, in operating as if in total disregard for the legal standards. This is, we are witnessing a degradation of standards in our country. We're destroying this country before our very self with small things like this. People losing faith in the system, the administration of criminal justice system. Yeah. If you ask me, what do I make of this? I see it as a collective failure on the part of the judiciary, and including lawyers, on the part of civil society actors, and on the part of the wicked and nefarious law enforcement authorities who just decide that they are ensconced to protect a certain people who are oppressors. And again, we are also witnessing a total collapse and a crisis of value. Why is it that anybody can go to sleep as a prison warder, or as a judge, or as a lawyer, or as a relative, knowing that there is an innocent person wallowing in detention, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, for 4 whole years, knowing he's innocent? How do we even operate as a people? And then we still have other countries, according to Fela, they were the ones who came to tell us that this is how to run democracy. Why are those countries not telling this government or the governments of the past that this is not how to operate democracy?
Fela called it demonstration of
course, and crazy demonstration. But he also exposed the hypocrisy of the entire world against this country, because they would like to do business with us, collect our oil, collect our resources, but they won't tell the Nigerian government that this is not how you treat your people. This is not, because if you do that, we can't relate, we can't do business. But they will keep quiet. We'll go around and do all sort of talk shop in international conferences and allow our country to remain in this state of decadence.
But when you say that, Frank, let me just, many times when the international community has tried to intervene and, raise concerns about human rights, and all of that, so there's always been that pushback from the Nigerian government. Take, for example, the latest, New York Times piece.
The truth about it is this. I like such narratives that say we won't sell you weapons to fight Boko Haram if you continue to disregard the human rights of your people. So I like such narratives coming from countries like the United Kingdom, our former colonial masters, who should be, they are the ones who should have the responsibility of actually taking Nigeria to the cleaners. I have been to United Nations for sessions where indeed certain questions have been raised by representatives of United States and United Kingdom. I agree, but you see, there's this idea, this window dressing, this, playing to the gallery about it. No commitment. Because now those of us who have decided to be globalists, that is, we are moving beyond nationalism, and let's have a global village. We should see a situation where the rest of the world should hold Nigeria more accountable for the way it is treating its citizens, especially when you realize that we have some of the best laws. You cannot beat the fundamental rights enforcement procedure rules. God bless the memory of former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Legbo Kutugi, for putting those rules together. Every time, it is the best ever you can ever see in the world, where in a matter of days, any lawyer can apply to a court on behalf of anybody who is in detention, and the person will be released. In Nigeria, you must realize our jurisprudence does not accept any form of bail that cannot be met. So if you give bail conditions to anybody in this country and it cannot meet those conditions, by our law, you are supposed to approach that court to say reduce those bail terms and conditions. There is nobody who's supposed to be in detention in this country except on the orders of the court.
Right. The ACJA, that's the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, was supposed to address this issue.
And it did. Section 34 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act makes provision for every chief magistrate in every magisterial division to visit any detention center, including prisons or police cells, every month to ensure that they give him report of every single person that is in detention. And then he looks at the situation and makes recommendation. And where necessary, he grants bail or he sets them free according to the provisions of Section 35 of the Constitution. For goodness sake, this is a whole lot of collective failure of our institutions. Are you also talking about the National Human Rights Commission? Has it not been overwhelmed? So what happens to his constant prison audits? Why should we have one innocent Nigerian remaining in detention beyond 48 hours when the court can grant bail?
Speaking of that audit, and I'm wondering whether the Nigeria police actually has an accurate and reliable data on every detained detainee in Nigerian correctional centers. How much more the EndSars? Because look, they've just reeled out a number of names, 8 names that are still in detention today. And the police has pushed back and said,
names simply speak to the failure of those who take responsibility and connection for them, and then again beyond the administration of criminal justice system. But again, it's not the duty of the police. I like what that brilliant Lagos lawyer, I read his report on Sahara Reporters. I like his position. It is not the duty of the police to give the statistics on those who are detained. Is that of the Nigerian Correctional Service. I mean, the formerly Nigerian Prison Service. Yeah. So we should direct their attention. But the idea is this. We are a country that is supposed to be having quality standards, beautiful laws, but we see a people who are aloof, who are resigned completely from implementing these standards. We see, and I wonder
what do you think is fundamentally wrong?
No, we are pitched.
Why is the rule of law the first casualty?
I see that because we are pitched against ourselves. Because we have one kind of inscrutable competition among us at very many levels, at very primordial level, at every level of governance and relation. And that's terrible. Competition for what? For a life of materialism. We don't have that kind of national ethos for which binds us together. So what our relationship is defined by how much more that I have more than you. Yeah. The competition, whether between ethnic groups and individuals. So we clamor for the bread and butter that Nigeria can give, forgetting that this place is a country that we are supposed to build. I read one report by one fantastic writer in Akure, one Rasaki, giving us a distinction whenever there are festive situations between Nigeria and Gambia. In the Gambia, you see there's a clamor of reducing prices when you are approaching Christmas or the Muslim festivals. But in Nigeria, it's opposite. We hate ourselves in this country. We need a leader, and I hope President Tinubu can be that leader that will realize that it is time to define our Nigerianness by how good we can be to one another, to our neighbors. And the Constitution says it. It's like we should build a brotherhood. We have a responsibility in this country to protect the rights of one another. It's a constitutional duty under Section 24 of the Constitution.
But there was a time when Nigeria used to be that way. We used to be our brother's keepers.
The reason is simply that our kind of politics is destructive. It's terrible. It's unwholesome. It's unholy, and it doesn't promote life. For goodness sake,
the winner takes all that.
No, we don't love ourselves. We need to realize that People matter more than this geographical description called Nigeria.
It's a good place to leave it. Frank Tietie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My
As
pleasure.
always.